Hello Jenny's, Genesis Lewison here, and this is a very odd video I'm making. Must be my first, really out there video. Doesn't make much sense why I would be doing it to most of you. The reason I've decided to make this video was clearly, and honestly, I'm not gonna ruin it in a sense, but I did this video in order to kind of give my 2 cents. I have played and enjoyed the Walking Dead series. So due to my connections, I have decided that I'm gonna, for you people out there who want it spoiled, I'm gonna spoil the information I've gathered on Season 3. Okay, so the first thing I get is, for my information, which is on my notebook here, is that, Clementine, it's going to take place at least 3 years, I think, after the one we're in now. At least 3 to 6 years. The reason they're doing this is so that AJ, the baby in the, Season 2, can be a newer and older character who can, actually be a character. So what we're going to get is, it's going to follow the plot line, where it's gonna go. The canon ending is when you decide to go with Kenny, and decide not to go to Wellington, but decide to walk off. What we get is that, they decided not to go into Wellington, but take their supplies, extras, and they actually made a cottage that's in the outside regions of, the outside of Wellington, where Wellington is. Not too big of a pot, but, I'm gonna really start spoiling it now. So, basically, Kenny is older now, so basically you have to add it up 6 years. So now, AJ is now 6, Clementine's in her 18, 19, around that age, and Kenny, who I can only estimate was in his late 40s, is now in about his maybe mid-50s. So Kenny's now really old, but Kenny's still alive, and so is Clementine and AJ. Basically, how it's gonna go down is, Kenny has a big spoiler. Kenny is now an artist and has been drawing pictures of, people who have died, sort of in memory. Kenny has still he's kinda gotten over Katya and, Duck's death, but he's still, and Sarita's too, but he's still kind of having the withdrawal that, he still feels bad that he's taken along Clementine and AJ, but he feels they're more of a family now, I can process with the information I got. Kenny sees Clementine and AJ as his son and daughter. Clementine sees, Kenny as a father and AJ as like a little brother, and AJ sorta, in a sense, sees Clementine as sort of a mom figure and Kenny as sort of a father figure. But, it all makes good sense. Also, not too big of a spoiler here, but Kenny actually now wears an eye patch and no longer the bloody bandage, which I think is a lot better. But, back to the story you guys really want to get spoiled. Episode 1 is going to be spoiled to hell, so if you don't want to, I give you 10 seconds now. Ready? 1, 2, 3. This is if it's, if it's out by the time you see this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, you decided to stay. Lucky you. Basically, okay. Kenny, Clementine, and Duck. AJ, sorry, you'll get why I start saying that from the information I read. It's like a book, goddammit. A comic book. Basically, Kenny, Clementine, and AJ are living in a cottage outside Wellington. They frequently go inside Wellington and out, but sort of in rescue. Due to Kenny's now starting to do art, in memory, he actually drew a picture of Arvo and has actually put a red X and stabbed it into Wellington's walls, making sure that Arvo was not allowed inside Wellington. Sort of his own fuck you to Arvo, because you guys know how Kenny thinks about Arvo. So basically, they go in and out, but one night, which is where the first episode will take, a huge outbreak happens and people start turning into zombies. A good group of 4 or 5 people. They didn't give me too much information, but a group of people run into their house thinking that Kenny, who'd gotten a has seen having like a cut on his arm in an earlier, question of the game. Damn it, how do you put it? Earlier scene. They think that Kenny might have been affected, came in, affected one of the people who died, left, and, died here. Eventually, Clementine wakes up Kenny and shows them that Kenny is not a walker yet. Kenny is still, human. Physical change-wise, Kenny actually now has, in the oddest thing, Kenny actually now went from looking more. They've all sort of changed physically. Clementine, really, the only difference with her is that she's, taller, hair longer, more feminine features. And AJ just looks, odd enough, AJ actually looks a lot like Duck, which I can sort of put it near the idea that that's how Kenny, the father figure, would raise, like, a second son. But it's to the point that, in episode 2, or at least the information I got on it, he actually frequently starts, effing up on his head, and actually starts calling AJ Duck, repeatedly. Also, not too much of a change. So basically, they find out that they end up going back into Wellington the next day to see if there's any supplies, because a lot of people ran out of Wellington during this part, and a lot of walkers were in there. So, really, Clementine and Kenny go, and so does AJ, because, he kind of sneaks along. Kenny finds out that the sign that said "No Arvo" was ripped down, meaning either Arvo is in there, protecting himself, and Wellington let him in, or Arvo was injured, snuck in, and died there, thus causing Wellington to attack. Again, guys, I really don't know. This is all what my friends who work at Telltales are giving me info on. There's a huge thing that, I do like what I did get from the information, that, it's sort of going to be sort of that friendship between Clementine and AJ. Even though they're seen more as a mother to sister figure to AJ, she's also going to be a bit of a Lee Everett to him as well, a Lee to him too, as in, she's going to be the one to teach him about guns, not Kenny. He's going to be the one to teach her, about loving and all that, you got to give fate and stuff, blah blah blah, sort of a buddy romance kind of idea. Idea-wise, it's pretty dumb, what I'm about to say next, but they go in there and they find out that it wasn't Arvo, but we actually find out that Arvo is actually hiding in there. So now we got a group of characters, not exactly know what number of group members yet, but who basically are now, who've lost their home at Wellington and now have to go to the next place. Nobody knows where that is. Their plan is, they have a pretty easy plan. Their plan is to actually go west. Now, I think this is, kind of stupid from when I heard it, but I actually started thinking, maybe it's a good plan. I mean, they started down in Georgia, and they obviously went through a bunch of states until they reached Wellington. And Wellington's in what? Upstate New York, Pennsylvania? Guys, I didn't finish the game yet. I'm going off knowledge I saw in playthrough and all those kind of videos. But, it's somewhere around that area. Upstate, northern New England, somewhere around there. And actually having, maybe Ohio? Sorry guys, thinking to myself. That actually having them go west might be a good idea. Not only for, how much new people they can meet, but, just the idea, if they go west, so many more stories can happen, because, they're starting to leave. They've decided that, actually, after they see it, once they pick up, Kenny ends up killing Arvo. Simple as that. He ends up finally getting his vengeance on that little bitch. And enjoys it too. Eventually they all think, why'd you kill another survivor? And he kind of says, in the Kenny voice, the fucker the fucker, literally, he hasn't killed us, but the fucker has killed a lot of people we know. So Kenny still kind of, in an idea, hates Arvo for what he did. So, as much information as I got, that's all I got, guys, but it is a lot of information. Basically, the one major spoiler, I think, was the idea that they're heading west, which I think is a pretty fun plan, because now I'm just predicting here, but they could run into, say, another character from the show, but I don't know about that so much yet. But if they go along the top, they could hit, if not already hit it, they could hit Montana, North Dakota, Utah, if they go out west, they could hit like California and stuff. Not only do I think it would be some cool imagery, because obviously Clementine, again, guys, as far as my knowledge, Clementine has never been out that way, and neither has Kenny or, hell, even AJ, because he was born during this shit. None of them know that, what's out there. They're going on their knowledge that, because one of the survivors of the group, name not told by my friend, one of the survivors of the group actually have lived out in California, or, again, one of those places, but let's be honest, they're heading for Cali. And their plan is, if they can get there, he says he knows blah blah blah, he knows somebody who owns something. My friend won't tell me what, but he knows somebody who knows a place where they could make, in a sense, a Wellington 2, or, in better terms, as he put it, Terminus. So I'm starting to think maybe he's one of those people from Terminus. I mean, that could evolve into a whole better story, because, if my friend was right and he is from Terminus, we could have sort of a show crossover here. I mean, Glenn's now dead, so obviously he's not coming back in the game, but, and one of the other characters could easily come back in the game. We already have Wellington and all that, who's such big now, and, Wellington's gone. Obviously, as how this is stating, Terminus is gone as well. So, basically, there's this guy who was in Terminus, who then went to Wellington, but now they're in strike with what they're going to do next. What's their plan? Go to California, because if you go to California, all I'm predicting simply off the top of my head is that they're going to go to California so that, because obviously walkers couldn't be easily freezed in Wellington, so the easiest plan is to burn them. It's really hot there, so, blood and guts boil over. Hell, they kill themselves in a sense. That's all I got, guys. It's not a lot, but I think it's good enough. Peace out, Jennies.